The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed quietly above as a woman stepped into the towering glass building nestled in the heart of downtown Chicago. Her name was Ella Montgomery. The moment she walked through the sleek revolving doors, it was like the entire lobby paused to exhale. Ella wore a faded denim dress that hung just past her knees and a pair of cracked brown boots that had clearly seen years of honest work. Her auburn hair was tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail, and in her arms, she clutched a weathered brown folder as if it carried the weight of the world. The receptionist, a young woman with perfectly manicured nails and a Bluetooth earpiece, barely glanced up from her screen. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone clipped. "I have a 10 o'clock," Ella replied calmly. The receptionist raised a single brow and typed something into her computer. "You're here for the executive interview?" Ella nodded once. There was a pause. A flicker of disbelief crossed the receptionist's face before she gestured toward the elevators. "Top floor. Conference room 17B. As Ella walked toward the elevators, a pair of interns leaned in close, whispering behind designer lattes. "She looks like she just came off a tractor," one of them said. The other snickered. "Maybe she's lost." But Ella heard them. She always heard. Years of being underestimated had sharpened her ears, strengthened her spine. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "You walking like you own it, baby girl. Not because you do, but because one day you will." The elevator doors opened with a ding, and she stepped inside. The executive floor was nothing like the world Ella knew. Everything was glass, steel, and sharp edges. The floor was polished so thoroughly that Ella could see her reflection in it faint, but there. She adjusted the strap of her worn satchel and moved forward with a quiet confidence. People stared as she passed. A woman in a high-end pantsuit tilted her head, whispering, "Who let the farm girl in?" But Ella didn't flinch. When she stepped into conference room 17B, 5 people sat at a long table, folders stacked before them, eyes sharp with the kind of scrutiny only corporate lifers could possess. At the center sat Malcolm Halverson, Vice President of Operations, a man whose reputation for ruthlessness preceded him. He barely glanced at Ella as he tapped his pen. "Name?" he said flatly. "Ella Montgomery." Halverson clicked his pen. "Interesting choice of outfit, Miss Montgomery. You do realize this is a formal executive interview." "Do. Have you worked in a corporate environment before?" "No," Ella said plainly. "But I've managed labors, negotiated deals, overseen budgets, and kept operations running through droughts, financial losses, and emergencies." A man beside Halverson chuckled. "You mean a farm?" Ella met his eyes. "I mean a business. My family farm. We grow, process, and distribute across 4 states. I've done payroll at midnight, logistics at dawn, and mediation over barbed wire disputes. If you think location diminishes value, you're not looking at results." The room fell quiet. Halverson leaned back. "We've got Ivy League grads applying for this role. MBAs. People with experience at Fortune 500s. What makes you think you belong in this room?" Ella didn't hesitate. "Because I've lived what they've studied. I learned leadership not from theory, but from necessity. When 5 workers quit in the middle of harvest, I got the job done. I don't come from prestige, but I come from perseverance." Before Halverson could respond, the door opened. The CEO stepped in. It was as if the atmosphere changed instantly. Conversations halted. Postures stiffened. Halverson stood up so quickly that his water glass nearly tipped. Ella had no idea who the man was, but the room reacted like royalty had entered. He was tall, silver-haired, dressed in a dark navy suit that looked hand-stitched and silently powerful. His name was Julian Stratton. His eyes scanned the room, then landed on her. He walked past the panel without a word and stood directly in front of Ella. "Miss Montgomery?" he asked quietly. She nodded, standing slowly. Stratton extended his hand and gave a slight, respectful bow. "It's a pleasure." She took his hand, stunned. Halverson interjected. "Sir, she's one of the late walk-ins." She's the only person I came to meet," Stratton cut in. "Everyone else can leave." The panelists exchanged confused glances. One dropped his pen. Halverson looked dumbfounded. But she's not even qualified. She runs a farm. She runs an empire, Stratton corrected. Do any of you know the name Montgomery Organics? No? Then allow me. He turned to the group. Her family owns over 9,000 acres in 3 states. Their organic brand supplies to 7 of the largest grocery chains in the Midwest. They've beat out 6 competitors this year. They have 0 debt, no outside funding, and a consumer base that treats them like family. He paused. That's leadership. That's resilience. That's experience no Ivy League can teach. Silence. Heavy and absolute. Halverson's voice was weak. But she's not from our world. Then maybe it's time our world changed, Stratton said coldly. He turned back to Ella. You're not here to apply for a position. You're here to lead a new initiative, our Sustainable Agriculture Division. And if you accept, you'll report to no one but me. Ella stood frozen, her hands clenched tightly on the folder. Her knuckles were white. She had come here expecting rejection. Mockery. At best, polite dismissal. Instead this. She started, her voice trembling. Stratton leaned in. You've earned this, Miss Montgomery. Not because of how you look, not because of where you're from, but because of what you've built. You didn't inherit power. You created it. She looked at him, eyes wide. The weight of his words grounded her. I accept, she whispered. Stratton smiled. Then welcome to the team, Chairwoman Montgomery. And just like that, everything changed. The next weeks were a blur. Meetings, press, strategy sessions. Ella barely had time to breathe, but she didn't let the whirlwind sweep her off her feet. She had walked through rain-soaked fields and frost-covered mornings. She had hauled water and broken ice for cattle before sunrise. She had held spreadsheets and soil in the same hand. And now she stood in rooms with investors, analysts, and boards. Many doubted her. They whispered, watched, waited for her to fail. Gregory Henson, head of marketing, was the loudest critic. In one meeting, he scoffed at her suggestions to rebrand with sustainability in mind. This is a business, not a food co-op, he said. We need profits, not planet talk. Ella didn't blink. Profits fade. Purpose lasts. Our consumers are evolving. If we don't meet them there, we'll be left behind. Henson laughed. Spoken like someone who's never managed global PR. I've managed something tougher, she replied. Real people's trust. That's not bought, it's earned. And I built it in a field, not a boardroom. Eventually, he folded. Slowly, but he did. Her pilot project introducing sustainable sourcing and localized crop networks took off like wildfire. Within months, numbers climbed. Customer loyalty deepened. Even investors started shifting their tone. Ella worked late nights. She mentored young analysts. She took lunch with janitors and coffee with skeptics. She remembered every doubt cast at her and turned each one into a foundation stone. The media took notice. Farm Girl reshapes Fortune 500, read one headline. One afternoon, Stratton stopped by her office. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. I was wrong about you, he said. Ella looked up from her paperwork. You didn't seem that skeptical. I was. Not of your mind, but of the world's readiness for someone like you. He smiled. But you didn't wait for permission. I never did, she said. Stratton walked in, setting a folder on her desk. I want you to lead our global sustainability division. It's time this movement went international. You've already transformed the company. Now, I want you to transform the industry. Ella stared at him, stunned. It wasn't just a promotion. It was a legacy. She reached out, her hand steady this time. Let's do it. Years later, in a corporate summit in Tokyo, Ella stood on stage receiving an award for global environmental leadership. Behind her flashed photos of fields, families, and factories remade by her vision. Her name was now synonymous with transformation. But she never forgot the day she walked into that glass tower, wearing scuffed boots and a dress sun-bleached from years on the land. And she never forgot the people who laughed, because now they stood and clapped and called her Chairwoman Montgomery.